Third right away, Steve.
Okay, yep. We are live. I would like to call the meeting to order and start with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This mayor is on his countdown. This is October. Welcome to our city council meeting. I will be here till December 31st if anybody's interested. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Whitfield.
Here.
Counselor Morocco. Counselor Petropoulos.
Here.
Counselor Gilat.
Here.
Counselor Grimaldi.
Here.
Counselor Peeler. Counselor Lavin.
Here.
Counselor Brennan.
Here.
Mayor Valentino.
Here. Next on our agenda is one of the two public hearings on the property tax cap override. I would like to open up that public hearing if anybody would like to talk on the property tax cap override. With no one coming to the podium, I will close that public hearing and move on to the next one. It's a public hearing amending the city charter, city manager residency requirement. That public hearing is now open, if anybody would like to come to the podium. With no movement to the podium, I will call that public hearing closed. And now we have one amendment to the agenda. And that amendment is to add to establish a public hearing for the sale of 595 South Exchange Street, former OEO site, to the preferred developer. And I so move. I need a second to add that to the agenda. Councilor Petropoulos, any discussion on amending the agenda? Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Whitfield.
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos.
Aye.
Counselor Gilat.
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi.
Aye.
Counselor Lavin.
Aye.
Counselor Brennan.
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay. Next we have a proclamation, and I apologize because I'm digging. Whereas the city of Geneva is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living and visiting the city. And whereas fire remains a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and the presence of lithium-ion batteries in many household devices introduces unique fire risks. And whereas most of the electronics used in homes daily, including smartphones, tablets, laptops, power tools, e-bikes, e-scooters, and toys, are powered by lithium-ion batteries, which, if misused, damaged, or improperly charged, can overheat and start a fire or explode. And whereas the National Fire Protection Association, NFPA, reports an increase in battery-related fires, underscoring the need for public education on the safe use of lithium-ion batteries. And whereas the residents should follow three key calls to action: buy only listed properties, buy only listed products, charge batteries safely, and recycle them responsibly to prevent battery-related fires. And whereas lithium-ion batteries store a large amount of energy in a small space, and improper use of such overcharging, use of off-brand chargers without safety certification, or exposing batteries to damage can result in fire or explosion. Whereas the proper disposal and recycling of lithium-ion batteries help prevent environmental hazards and reduce fire risks in home and community. And whereas the city of Geneva's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of fires through the prevention of safety, education, and the community outreach. And whereas the 2025 Fire Prevention Week themed Charge into Fire Safety, Lithium-Ion Batteries in Your Home, serves to remind us of the importance of using, charging, and recycling lithium-ion batteries safely to reduce the risk of fires in homes and communities. Now, therefore, I, Steve Valentino, as mayor of the city of Geneva, do hereby proclaim October 5th through the 11th, 2025, as Fire Prevention Week in the city of Geneva. Next, we have a presentation from the Geneva BID update. Yep, and the closer you get to the microphone, the better the audience can hear and the people online. Thank you.
Hello. I would like to start by thanking the council for the time this evening. Through my presentation tonight, I'd like to offer a few things. I'd like to offer an introduction to myself, being the new executive director of the bid. I would like to offer a look at the bid and what we do and why. I would like to look at a brief picture of the future, if you will, and I would like to open the door of communication between the bid under my tenure and the council. So first is me. Hello, my name is Sydney Schumacher. I am the new executive director of the Geneva Business Improvement District. I was previously the maintenance supervisor and the grant program assistant at the GBID, and I come here from over a decade experience teaching in higher education. Obviously, I'm new to the role of the executive director and the bid, and so I felt it important in this presentation to offer a little insight into what my vision is for the bid going forward. While I do have many plans for how to execute the vision, my core goals for the moment are a few. I would like to refocus on the core responsibilities and functions of a bid establishment. I would like to scale the responsibilities of GBID in particular in a way that is sensible for a team of our particular size. I would like to create greater understanding in the community of what the bid is, can do, and how we can work together, for which this is my first stop. So again, I thank you for the opportunity. Shall I carry on?
We're getting texts from the public that the microphone's not on.
Should I wait that?
Yeah, give it a
Just give
quick
it a
pause, yep, till the city manager comes back. Zach, how we doing? It is just one simple button?
It's not me, Zach, I promise. I didn't get.
Apologize to the audience, both internally and externally. We have some technical difficulties. But we have an ace in Zach. He'll take care of it, I guarantee it. Or you can come sit up here in my spot and I can leave and you can,
And now how can I turn it off?
You can take Bill's spot. He's not here.
Just give us
That seems more polite.
just give us another moment or two, Sydney, please, and then we'll get to something, some kind of resolution.
Sidney, you have no luck right now. You have no luck the last 2 weeks.
that's baptism by fire, yeah.
Where did you work it up in higher ed?
I was in central Pennsylvania, and I was teaching at the main campus of Penn State and also at Geneva College.
Happy Valley.
Happy Valley, exactly.
We are.
Penn State.
We're the Happy Lakes here.
Yes, plenty of time in various classrooms all over multiple campuses means that this is just another day at work, right?
Is it just that microphone?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's,
We can take,
Yeah, we can do that. If you wanna join council at one of the seats.
we're gonna have to do that for public comment too, right?
Hey,
Yeah.
You'll be much more comfortable.
Mary's even provided candy, so. Mary's even provided candy.
Comes with
Only
candy.
one? Oh, all right, I won't be greedy. Okay, should I start myself over?
Please,
or-
yeah, that way the audience can hear.
Great, okay. First of all, thank you, council, for your time this evening. I appreciate you giving me the chance to speak with you. My name is Sydney Schumacher. I'm the new executive director of the Geneva Business Improvement District. I was previously the GBID maintenance supervisor and grant program assistant, and I come to the GBID from over a decade teaching in higher education. Obviously, I'm new to the role of executive director of the bid, so I felt it important in this presentation to offer a little insight into what my vision is moving forward with the bid. I do have many plans for how to execute that vision, but my core goals for the moment are, in short, to refocus on the core responsibilities and functions of a business improvement district establishment, to scale the responsibilities of GBID in particular sensibly for a team of our size, to create greater understanding in the community of what the bid is and can do and how we can work together, for which this is my first stop. So again, I thank the council for this opportunity. In conjunction, I hope for greater transparency about bid events, abilities, and our scope of work. For now, I would like to support, but hopefully eventually with enough growth, create more small-scale, self-sustaining, successful programming through grants and other means. And I would like to sustain a more active online presence. The power of the internet can unfortunately not be overlooked, and I'm of the opinion that there are great possibilities available to us through this medium. I would like to try to take advantage. So I mentioned that one of the things that I would like to do was take a look at the bid and what we do and why, and I am on a campaign of transparency and reintroduction of the bid to Geneva as a whole, because I feel that's important to building successful relationships. And when I say that I want to reintroduce the bid, that is because I've found the biggest obstacle and the number one thing that I've heard in speaking to locals of Geneva so far is that people don't know a few key things about the bid, and those would be who we are, what we are meant to do, and where exactly we operate. So I would like to begin with the what do we do portion of that question. As we see it, any bid has three primary functions. First is beautification and maintenance, which is the original purpose of our Geneva Business Improvement District. The second is supporting existing businesses, and the third is economic development. I would like to note that the Geneva bid is not the same entity as the city, and I say that because that is the first question that I get from everyone that I talk to who is not probably seated at this table right now. But we are contracted with the city for the maintenance arm of our work. So that first portion of what the bid does, we have a contract with the city. So we have requirements to meet under that contract, including the lakefront. And I specify that because that was added for this growing season as a result of the October 2024 budget vote. And I've been asked a few times why our team is working at the lake. So I would like to say that that's a new development that we are excited to tackle. We also beautify the district because it has a measurable impact on foot traffic, on overall community satisfaction, and on economic development if a community looks well. In supporting existing businesses, we are funded by the mandatory tax to all properties in our district, and we provide a wide array of services. I've listed a handful of them there. We do ribbon cuttings, we offer communication, branding and marketing, fostering connections between businesses and community partners. We do tourism promotion, education, property recruitment and retention, initiatives for all kinds of things. We wear a lot of hats over there in the bid. And then the last aspect of that is the economic development. This is the portion of the bid responsibilities that in an ideal world with full budget and enough staffing, we spend a little more time on that. This has previously been primarily used for the additional funding of events. The other thing I would like to note here, the second most asked question that I get about the bid is in relation to this economic development. The bid is not the sole entity responsible for this function in Geneva. There are other organizations such as the city itself, IDA, LDC, the Chamber of Commerce, and we do all have this mission in common, but the bid is a standalone organization from all of those others listed here. All of that is accomplished by our bid team, and I wanted to let you know what that looks like. So the other thing that people have found quite surprising over the course of this conversation is that our team is 4 full-time employees, and that's it. We've got 2 people in the office. That's myself and Lauren, and as you can see, listed under Lauren's name there, she's a superstar. She wears many, many hats, does many, many things, and then we have 2 maintenance team members who are in the field. So for the entirety of our district downtown and at the lakefront, all the beautification and maintenance is our 2 team members. We do occasionally have some part-time help. Jill Byington's a master gardener. You'll sometimes see her working down at the lakefront in her red truck and her I Dig Weeds t-shirt, and she is kind enough to give us a few days of her time a week. We also have Natalie who helps us with social media, and sometimes we're lucky enough to get an intern from HWS to work on specific individualized projects. But everything that the bid does is managed primarily by 4 of us. We're happy to be here, but we do a lot of things. So The next clarification about our scope is particularly what are our boundaries, where do we operate, and under what umbrella do various businesses or establishments fall. So when I meet people at the lakefront or walk around the district and they ask me, and I can stand in the middle of the district and I can point, usually what I'll say is roughly at the lakefront, we work from the lakefront to Main Street. And we work from the pedestrian tunnel up to the Welcome Center boat launch. And on Main Street, we work from Pulteney Park to Castle Street. Exchange Street is the rec center to Cosentino's. And I'm giving you that bundle of words because I have some imagery that I'm hoping will help a little bit. The image on the left is probably the one that you are used to seeing from the bid. This is our map that we distribute. On the back side of that is the list of all of our stakeholders and businesses in our district. And you can see that there is there any chance this has a pointer?
I have.
Ooh, the dark green line that is,
Since she's sitting right up here.
ooh, okay. This is a lot of power to hand over. Are you sure you want to do this? This dark green line right here that runs along the edge is our boundary line. So I've also put up the satellite map there because that's got some of the landmarks you could imagine superimposed over the satellite map on the right. But to be more specific, we break our district down into zones, and this is often a helpful visual for people who don't work in our office. Zones 1 through 5 are what we're working on here, and they are highlighting small areas of it because it's a bite-sized portion of our district that you might know. So Seneca Street is a big portion of one side of our district, and actually Linden Street as well. So we currently, sitting here in City Hall, are boxed in by one of our zones in the district. The next one spans Castle Street and the tunnels and side streets that shoot off of that. And we stop where the fire department is. If you were to draw a line across those side streets, it roughly lines up with the fire department. We then have the top half of Exchange Street, which encompasses the Hampton and GPD and the Exchange Street lot up at the top end there. And Cosentino's is, I know, a Geneva staple that most people will recognize as that's one of the last businesses. There's only 1 or 2 past Cosentino's. And then we have the bottom half of Exchange Street and Elizabeth Blackwell and the town side of 5 and 20, and then the last part of our district is the lakefront itself. This is the newest zone in our district. It runs, like I said, from the tunnel to the Welcome Center boat launch. So these are things that I will be making publicly available, but everyone does have a copy of that district map that they can find in just about any business they walk into. They're kind enough to distribute those for us. Our primary functions that I mentioned. So within the district, within all of those zones, in those boundaries, the things that we are working on, maintenance and beautification, I wanted to give just a small little snapshot of what that maintenance arm looks like. This I've done by season. There are obviously everyday tasks. The list is extremely long that we are doing regardless of season. I won't bore you with the minutia of that, but some of the big things that you will see is the decorations and plantings, the tables and chairs that go out, the landscaping and maintenance of trees and our landscaping beds, the fall planting that we do, and all of the Christmas decorations and holiday decorations that go up. That's the season that we're moving into right now. So our bid team is doing a lot of things that are visible as well as invisible: trash, cleanliness, etc. All those things that you expect out of bare minimum for your town and what you would want when you walk down the street. We then have our business, our district work, which is Lauren and myself. This is our primary responsibilities, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that now. So this is where we're supporting the existing businesses in our district. We are doing communication and publication. That takes a couple of forms: outreach blasts and newsletters, publicizing business events, ribbon cuttings, and welcoming new businesses to the district, maintaining relationships. We are fostering connections. We're creating connections between businesses, stakeholders, community partners. We have been doing targeted engagement of visitors based on great data from technology called Placer AI that's allowing us to get creative in how we reach out to the visitors and what they're looking for and when they're coming. We are hosting small events. I will say that the bid is not currently in a position to take on large-scale, single-instance events just because of our funding and our team size. And so instead, we're focusing on and hoping to grow the frequency of smaller, self-sustaining events like Music Monday, First Fridays. Those were very successful this summer. We're bringing back Art Walk, and we've got ideas for more. And that will be something our staff can keep running and that we can creatively connect to many different businesses in the district for each one. I know there have been concerns about large events of the past and that communication about them has been found lacking. And so I will say, please know that I am happy to discuss further why these are an impossibility now, but I won't take too much of your time with that at this moment. Facilitating conversations is another important aspect of our responsibilities. We have not and we will not, as an organization, take stances on proposed economic development projects within the district for a few reasons, primarily because of the mandatorily paid assessment tax that I mentioned before. What a conflict of interest it would be if the bid took a stance, positive or negative, on a proposed project and then it moved into the district and was forced to fund us for our efforts. And so that's not something that we are historically taking part in, nor will we be. But a major responsibility that we have is facilitating conversations between those proposed businesses or projects and the district members, and we will continue to do so. We just hosted an event in conjunction with the city for the OEO site, and so you can look for more information like that to continue happening from the bid's end. Like I said, this is part of that fostering connections responsibility that we have. And then the last thing that we're doing in office is we are managing grants. And so we will continue to seek out, apply for, and activate various grant opportunities. And to give you a few examples, this is our current scope of grant work that we have, or grants that have just come to an end over the summer. So we currently are working on a $38,000 grant from the Robert F. Schuman Foundation, which is about creating and revitalizing habitat for birds at the lakefront. So this is essentially supportive of many things that the bid and the city are already hoping to see for Geneva. It just gives us the ability to do more and to do it better. And so we're really grateful for that opportunity. You can look throughout the year for this to appear in many different ways, and don't get me started because this project has been my baby and I'll talk all night about it. So if you want to know more, find me and I'll tell you about it. We have the $5,000 Keep America Beautiful grant right now, which is actually the second successful implementation of the Keep America Beautiful grant. The bid received this last year for the downtown area. You might have noticed new receptacles for recycling cigarette butts have been installed around the district. This is all about cleaning up cigarette butt litter and recycling it as opposed to contributing to landfill. So we received that grant again to install more receptacles and new signage further out in the district. And then we just completed over $5,000 worth of grant programming through the Paddle Fest that we did, the historic bike tours, and the native plant guided walking tours and plant seed giveaways. If you want, I'm going to plug the Geneva Bid Facebook for a minute here, because you can go and look and see some pictures from our very successful first community volunteer event that we had under this grant, which was just this past weekend. It was wonderful, and I'm very grateful to our community. This takes me into goals for next year. We are hoping to increase involvement in a couple ways. One, from businesses in our district, which we can't do without more understanding of what the bid can do for our businesses in the district. Part of what I'm hoping for is to get creative about how we help put money into the district as it exists right now. How do we support our businesses or let people know they're there? Chasing grants for small programming, creating and revitalizing and expanding programs that already exist. Like I mentioned, Art Walk, First Fridays, Music Mondays, and being creative about how we use grants for non-directly related things So under the Schumann grant, that is meant to be used at the lakefront for birds, but the bid partnered with 5 of our district businesses to purchase vouchers for their products to offer to our volunteers. So our first successful volunteer event that we had means that now over 30 people have a reason burning a hole in their pocket to go spend time in some of our downtown businesses. So they came time, to spend time at the lake, and now we're sending them downtown. So we want to get creative like that. And we want to continue to apply for grants, continue our standard of beautification downtown, and we would like to offer you that, new and improved lakefront over time. Just a little image of some successes that we had this summer. We've got some community engagement. We had Drumstock, which just went off very beautifully. Music Mondays, First Fridays, that Paddle Fest. The reason that I am showing this to you is because I wanted to offer an example of the reach that all of our efforts can give us, and that you can see people engaging with our community and coming downtown. And I want to show you specifically an example of the beautification efforts that we have in mind. It's shallow to say, but the truth is that when something looks good, human nature is to then feel good. And so I can't tell you the number of people I've heard comment positively on our downtown plantings. And a good example of this is our earth planters, which are the hanging baskets and the ground planters that are up all summer. Earth planters are the company that provide those for us. They recently received an award by vote for the, quote, coolest thing made in New York, which is exciting. They are a small business on Cayuga. And we did such a nice job of making Geneva beautiful that Earth Planters reached out and asked if they could feature us in their advertising. So they shot a video of Geneva, and I would like to share it with you so that you can feel the same pride we did when they sent it to us, knowing how well we're doing with bringing people to our town. It's just a short little video, so if you will indulge me. I was very pleased with that. I don't know about you, but it's wonderful. You can, if you play I Spy, you can see a huge number of our district businesses whose names are prominently displayed there. And if you can imagine a company using that to advertise their products, and by association advertising Geneva, I think it becomes pretty clear why we focus so heavily on what we do downtown, because the benefit of that can't be understated. And then the self-sustaining programming under our grant, the grant efforts are not just for beautification. Right now, our 2 major grants are, but I do want to emphasize that grant programs that we would be looking to seek out and expand and continue are about those self-sustaining programming. It's absolutely essential for the GBID that be the scope of things, since we only have 2 permanent office staff to manage whatever grants we take on, but we certainly will continue to try. The last thing that I would like to do is talk about the budget. All of this being said, I understand the importance of clarity while the council moves through this important time of budget decisions, and so I just would like to offer a few notes on where our budget needs come from to support the documentation we provided, and to show you that we have very clear plans for what we would do with our budget if afforded to us. So as noted, one of our goals is increased efforts at the lakefront. This is the first growing season that we've had responsibility for that area, and it very quickly became clear that the team we supported before is no longer enough. It is essential that we be able to add a 4th staff member if we are to keep Geneva to the same standard that we do now. We would like to seamlessly continue service, continue beautification, continue managing all of the tasks that are in our contract with the city, and then some. That's the important part, is that we would like to do more than just the bare minimum of what we are asked of by the city. Additionally, and unfortunately, by all accounts, our truck and some of our equipment are on their last legs, and we currently face costly and necessary replacement purchases. These are not regular occurrences, but we don't currently have the cushion for that. And most ambitiously, we would very much like to continue growing our programming. With our requested budget, we can certainly maintain, but of course, I am going to dream big and consistently hope to do more. The last thing that I would ask of you, I would like to make a request of council, and I promise it's not a budget-related request. I would like to know what you would like to see from the bid. So my request for you, what does the bid need to communicate? How would you see us beneficially engaging the district? Do you have any ideas that we might be able to pick up and run with? If you would be willing, I would ask that each of you perhaps send me after the meeting sometime an email with your top 2 ideas for the bid, what you would like to see, how we can work together, how we can grow as a team. I would be very appreciative if you were willing to do that. So my email is gone. I have cards, business cards with my email address on them, and I would just like to thank you for your time this evening, and please do feel free to reach out, because I do truly look forward to the opportunity to work together for the benefit of Geneva.
Thank you very much, and good luck in your endeavors. And we do love the plannings. They're 1,000% better than they have been in the past. So I don't think we have our podium fixed yet, but so we'll move on to the next item, which is a discussion on sidewalk moratorium. And is that, you gonna take that one?
I am not. I'm going to pass it on to our Assistant City Manager, Taylor
Okay.
Youngs.
Great.
Thank you, everyone. So there's a couple of things that I want to discuss today on sidewalks. First, some background. As you all are aware, at the September 3rd meeting, Council passed a resolution to place a moratorium on the sidewalk repair ordinance 306-7, really highlighting the need for city staff to take a look at our current ordinance and what we could do to perhaps adjust that based on council's guidance. The first thing I want to highlight is that staff was looking to get a little bit more clarity from council on the breadth of the moratorium for that resolution. As you may be aware, 306-7 is a little bit broader than just a requirement to repair damaged sidewalks. There's discussion of removal of snow and ice, etc. It is our belief that the intention of council was to focus on 306-7C, specifically the repairing of those sidewalks. But I did just want to kind of open that up to make sure that we are reading your intentions correctly, and if so, I think we should adjust or amend the resolution as such.
I guess you recognize this. Yes, so obviously it applies to the sidewalks. Snow will continue to be removed by the homeowners and/or property owners. I'll need to speak with you, I'm getting calls about plowing. That's another thing altogether, but we'll talk about that another time. So yes, I think unless anyone else has any feedback, it's mainly the sidewalks and the concerns. One thing that did come up, I did get a phone call. Apparently in the Castle Street reconstruction, they're putting in sidewalks. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wish Joe were here tonight. If so, those folks are kind of getting a free ride. You know, if there's money to fix those sidewalks, the logical question from said resident was, why can't there be money to fix other streets that have been gigged for these things? So that's something I'd like to continue to look at. You know, obviously we're doing a budget right now. We're probably not the best time to do it, but the moratorium ends in the spring, by which time hopefully we'll have been able to, you know, discuss options. You know, again, a city tree route, pushing up a sidewalk, and now you know, that's kind of what we were trying to put the brakes on, just to see. So no, snow stays the way it is. Mr. Mayor, Amy, any commentary? We keep the snow.
Yeah, I think the only thing the moratorium did was put off letting the people have to fix it in 60 days.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that we weren't going to cite people. It just was, they weren't gonna have, they would have until the spring to do the work, because putting concrete in January is not the thing. So essentially, it was more, it wasn't really any of the, if code finds a problem, they still cite, it's just that it isn't until, what did we say, March or April?
March.
That they wouldn't have to do the repairs in that 60 days that presently is in the law.
Great.
Does that sound right, guys?
Well, yeah, the moratorium was directly affecting the repair of sidewalks, and that's what you addressed. But I would suggest that the entire ordinance be reviewed also, because I think that it's the, how shall we say it, the enforcement and the ability of the shoveling and de-icing of sidewalks is very spotty at best. And I'll bet, and I can't say that I have this memorized, but I'll bet that some of the wording in there can be improved also. I recommend looking at the entire ordinance altogether. This is the opportunity. If not, we'll just get a kind of a piecemeal fix here and there. And that's usually the problem with government.
Go ahead, Counselor.
Can we let her finish the presentation, and we can?
Absolutely,
Thanks.
absolutely, and I've noted that as well. And so first, I think it's already been alluded to, I just wanted to provide an update on what we have done on that front, and that is the city will continue to issue those notices of those violations with clear language that the moratorium is in place until the April timeline, as well as taking a look at, we heard the concerns about the language of the violation notices that were going out. So taking a look at making sure we're still including the proper legal language that we need to, but perhaps a little bit, less, I guess, abrasive is the word I've heard a couple of times, but just taking a look at the tone of that language as well, of those violations. And we have also let folks know that have already received those violations, we've let them know about the moratorium. So if anybody has claimed that they have not heard from us, please have them reach out. We can provide that information. So in addition to taking those immediate actions on some of the items that you all flagged at that time, we have begun the initial phases of looking at what the options are, really, again, focusing on this repair component. I've noted to take a look at some of the others as we move forward. The one thing I want to highlight as we look through these options, it's super important for us that, we want to determine what is council's direction and intention, that you would like us to continue exploring. As you hear these options, what sounds like something you would like us to continue to explore, and we can dive further into it. And so I just want to say that not all policy and legal implications and considerations have been explored for every single one of these in the world that exists beyond what's inside of this document. We just did a cursory review and are presenting those options to you all here tonight. So the first option, of course, we maintain our current policy with some of the adjustments that I've already discussed and potentially some others. So what would happen there is the responsibility would remain with the residents on repairing those sidewalks. We would continue to improve our communications with residents as it relates to those violations, making sure that the language and the tone comes across appropriately. We could also look at extending the timeframes of the requirement to repair. So 60 days has come up as, perhaps unreasonable in some folks' perspective, and so exploring 90 to 120 day options or whatever direction council would like us to explore on that front. And so again, I do want to highlight that our current policy does allow for that administrative flexibility in the sense of it's the middle of winter, you can't get somebody to pour concrete in this sidewalk. That is built into our existing code. We're able to look at that and say, we can work with you. There's not going to be, something forced that is not feasible and cannot be done. That already exists within the code. But making sure that our language, when we communicate that to residents, is clear, concise, and it makes sense, we can take a look at that. So that is maintaining that current policy with those few adjustments. The next option that we looked at was maintaining our current policy, but having some targeted financial assistance. So this is really in response to some of the discussion that council had and residents expressed of folks, it can be expensive to repair your sidewalks. And not everybody is in a position to be able to, put all of that money into that project at that time. And so taking a look at some different grant programs or 50/50 programs that exist in other municipalities, or across the country that we could potentially have here. One that I really want to highlight is that back in 2011, and I included this attachment with your all's packet, we did have a 50/50 program that existed, and so essentially the city had a budget that was that filled this fund that we split 50% of the costs of the repairs of those sidewalks for groups of at least 4 or more properties. And there's an application period. It was really when the money runs out, the money runs out. We can talk through what those timelines could look like if we were to bring something like this back. And something else, we would want to look at is what were the kind of parameters or the eligibility requirements to participate in that program. Would we want to look at setting income levels? Only folks who demonstrate need would get access to this program or would be perhaps prioritized in some way, shape, or form. Would we want to look at going a neighborhood rotation route, identifying sections of the city that this cycle is focused on and move accordingly? We can explore all of those options if this is something that council is interested in us looking at. Again, that obviously would come with a price tag. We would need city dollars to match that 50/50, but this is another option. The third option that we have is dedicated into our capital improvements program. So the city essentially taking on the responsibility for repairing sidewalks citywide. This is obviously a dedicated budget line item for those sidewalks improvements. Normally you see this integrated into municipalities' existing milling and paving program. So as you mill and pave, you would repair sidewalks. There is potentially opportunities to explore, CHIPS reimbursement where eligible. I just, as you all know, CHIPS money can't be spent on everything everywhere. One, when CHIPS dollars are gone, they're gone. Two, there are specific parameters around where those can be used. But if we were to go this route, that is something staff would, look into and explore as a potential opportunity to recoup some of those costs that we would need to put into this program, but definitely not all. And again, that's just hoping that this fits into the realm of CHIPS and that funding exists for us. This, again, would require us to kind of front load that money as a city, regardless of whether we were able to get reimbursement through CHIPS. We have to come up with that money to front load that. This is going to be obviously a much larger investment than the 50/50 program. We've thrown some numbers in here. We're looking for council's direction, of course. This is just based off of our understanding and research of the cost of things and other, programs that have existed similar to this in other places. For example, we looked at here $250,000 and then looking at that every year. That's an annual cost. That's something that would come in that budget every year. You could look at doing this gradually. You could put $50,000 in one year, the next year put another 50, so on and so forth, and start to build the budget line item for that. Something that we wanted to highlight with this option is, as early, larger investments allow more of the sidewalk to be completed for that price, right? We're able to get better pricing for larger areas that we are completing. Doing them piecemeal can sometimes be more expensive. And so looking at the, larger costs up front would be the ROI here. If we did it in small, we'd kind of see the same return as the 50/50 program on that investment. Really want to highlight the shift in liability here. We would have to look into this, obviously, much more, exactly what these legal considerations would be. But likely, when we take on the ownership of maintaining these sidewalks, then it becomes the city's liability if anything were to happen. That is a shift from our current model. Right now, obviously, that liability lies with the adjacent property owner. So that's something that I think council should consider as you look through these options. On the last page of the memorandum, I tried to include a chart showing these three options, showing some of these factors that you can weigh as you look through them. I will admit these are not the only options that exist. Just in our initial review, these are the ones that stood out that we see in other municipalities. I will highlight that it is predominantly the practice of municipalities to have the policy that we currently have, and that it is the responsibility of the, adjacent property owner. But there are programs that exist that do some of these other things. We've also included this is like totally estimated and changes drastically, as you know, as the cost of materials changes, as the years change and time goes on. But to just give council some guidelines on thinking about what type of investment you would like to make, we tried to provide some examples of how much it would cost to fund replacing certain sections of the sidewalk, up to 2 full street segments, and then if we were to do it on a more piecemeal basis. So I'll just end kind of my presentation section with just saying that given some of these initial, proposals, some of these, this research that we've done, we're really just looking for, council to let us know what direction you want us to go in, what you want us to look into more, and how we can, better support what, the direction that council has for us on the sidewalks.
Taylor, thank you very much for the quick and initially thorough response to the situation that we've kind of encountered. I think what we saw at our last meeting was, as mentioned, it is a complaint-based program. And usually when one person gets a complaint lodged against them, they go for a walk and fire up a bunch more complaints. So we got flooded with a variety of complaints, and it seems to cause some undue hardship to certain residents and certain properties. One thing that I mentioned at the last meeting was we have a point of sale mandate that at the point of sale, the sidewalks are taken into consideration and need to be good or brought up to code, which is important. I don't think we take away. I think Councilor Brennan mentioned something I think is important, where you take a look at this code or this ordinance and give a thorough look over. I would recommend that this council does not provide any direction to staff yet, because there could be financial impacts, and I think there's a lot more homework to be done, and I wouldn't want to burden the next council with any financial directions that we provide at this point. So I just want to be cautious there. But thank you very much.
I concur. If we could continue this discussion, yeah, we have a lot of good information here. There are things I want to find out, like, for example, take a tour of Ward 5, Ward 6, look at the sidewalks there. This could enhance the beauty of the town we just heard about, as well as safety, as well as whatever. So yes, this is going to be ongoing. I don't see this getting solved. That's why it's a 9-month moratorium. I would hope council would be willing to continue this discussion, and thank you.
I can't get my arms around why we would spend a few $1 million making a nice drive down Main Street for trucks, garbage trucks, and everything else, and say to people who want to walk down those same streets that we're leaving it to the fraternities and the colleges and to everybody else in my ward and other places. That I think but it does come back to, what are we not going to do if we're going to spend $250,000 doing this? Justice seems to be a city taxpayer responsibility to make the city walkable. But first I look at the purse.
Councilor?
Well, also that this seems to be going off the tracks here. This is we have a complaint-based system, which led to this flood of complaints recently, which led us to say, which led to an awful lot of residents being very upset, which led us to say, we'll put a moratorium on it. I'm not saying we have to review the entire sidewalk policy and copy other cities per se. I think we need to look at our own ordinance itself and look for the language and see what the pitfalls in that are. Perhaps, for example, to illustrate the point, perhaps making it a complaint-based system is our sole problem. Perhaps just the sale of properties back and forth is the trigger to cause the sidewalk to be repaired. I don't think we have to go too far with this, so I would agree with the mayor in the sense that I don't want council to give you any particular direction right now. So if you don't mind, I'd like to leave the door open to further conversation. Thank you.
So to just summarize, because in the absence of direction for staff, we're going to step away from this so you can absorb this information and have another discussion at the next meeting where you have some directions we could head in to then have a further conversation at the next meeting. But this will not be on the staff's work plate for right now while you digest this.
Let's push it at least till December, please.
Okay? Perfect.
What about January?
We got,
How
well,
about December 31?
we've got a lot on our plate right now,
Yeah.
so,
Absolutely.
December will give us some breathing room and give staff some breathing room.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other things I imagine you can concentrate on.
I think we can find a thing or two.
I think the direction here,
Thank
Steve, is to just keep going in the same direction we're going.
Yeah, and maybe clean up the language like
It
Councilor
may
Brennan said,
be
yep.
a little
Yep.
tough to fix, but basically,
We haven't had a problem up until recently.
right, it's, this is a 15-year-old thing.
And I just want to be clear on the intention and why we brought it back, because the resolution that you put forward was a moratorium on the entire ordinance. But we wanted to clean up the intention. I now hear clearly the intention is just the repair
Correct.
portion of
Correct.
that.
Correct.
Okay.
Wrote the ordinance wrong, or the moratorium wrong.
Okay.
Because it was intention only to delay the construction, not anything else.
I'm going to move on to the next item on our agenda, which is our Ontario County Supervisor update. And I see Supervisor Kennedy, welcome.
Neighbor. Thank you. Mayor, City Manager, Deputy City Manager, and Council, good evening, Comptroller, Clerk. There's a likelihood I will not be here before the end of the year again, so this might be my last quarterly report, but there's some good stuff in here. Just because of conflicts that I see, certainly in November, but also December, potentially. So, update on the budget at the county, sustainability update, healthcare FYI, and then some other general FYIs having to do with housing and some trainings that are coming up, as well as an opportunity for the city that I became aware of from the executive director of the State Association of Counties related to public work. So the first is that the county, we had our 3/4 day, 6-7 hour budget workshop on September 26th. Some of the major issues that we're dealing with from a cost standpoint are court-ordered forensic hospitalizations, which are now becoming county cost. Those are for people who have been deemed need to be assessed for competency before they go to trial due to a mental health or developmental disability issue. That county cost, that hospitalization can be up to, is typically $1,400 a day. So this is the 730 law, which is affecting all counties. To date, the county has approximately $716,000 in billings for these. So this is, we have talked a lot in this city recently about mental health services, and so this is part of that whole continuum that the counties are increasingly responsible for. In addition, the other items that informed our budget discussions had to do with the county's inheritance, if you will, of SNAP administrative costs. So this is the Nutrition Assistance Program that the federal government is now pushing down to states. States are pushing down to counties. This will have a lot more cost, even though the actual benefits will decrease because less people will be available, and the enrollment will be more difficult for people. And then finally, the county will be responsible, as all counties will be, for implementing the Medicaid-related work requirements, which become law. This part of the Medicaid change will become law next year, requiring individuals who receive Medicaid or are able-bodied to be defined to either work or have volunteer opportunities or volunteer requirements, I should say. And again, all of those federal impacts are still being known and understood and grappled with. On the other side, on the revenue side, the cannabis sales tax are starting to come in. This was discussed recently at the meeting with city management and the mayor. There's about $75,000 countywide for this quarter, still yet to be distributed based on identifying the sources of where these taxes are coming from within Ontario County, what municipalities, because not every municipality has an outlet for the sale of that product. So that is going to be an ongoing revenue source, and the delay is also related to the Office of Cannabis Management continuing to come online. Sustainability Department, I wanted to report that approximately 50 or more backyard composters were delivered to Geneva City residents. That has been something that this representative has heard a lot about, and so I'm glad to see that that happened. Also, the local solid waste management plan is before us supervisors right now. We've been asked not to share it. We're reviewing that, and that will be presented at the October 23rd Board of Supervisors meeting, which is, that's a requirement, but it also has been identified as an opportunity for the Sustainability Department to create their strategic plan, which is particularly important now given the closure of the landfill scheduled for 2028. Okay, healthcare premiums increasing. This has come up. Some of the reading that I've done, particularly in the Empire Center, is that this is, of course, not of course, but it is apparent that, you know, the ripple effect of the Medicaid costs are going to affect, in New York State, the insurers, because the insurers are the ones through the managed care organizations who provide the Medicaid program. So even though less people, about 400,000, are probably going to lose their coverage on Medicaid beginning next year, the cost of the program and all of our health insurance premiums are going to be increasing anywhere from mid-20s to up to the 40%, depending on what the carrier is projecting. And of course, this also reflects the national trends of hospital costs increasing and expected probably more time in the emergency rooms, and drug costs and drug claims going up, not just the cost, but the number of people who are submitting claims for pharmaceutical drugs. Also, as we know in Geneva, like the rest of the country, our aging customer base needing more medical care is contributing to these costs, and looming expiration of the Affordable Care Act. And I mentioned this tonight because this seems to be at the heart of the government shutdown also, depending on how you want to look at that. I've been sharing with the Housing Task Force the articles that are appearing in the Finger Lakes Times, at least with the Housing Task Force members, relative to the transition of the apartments on Pulteney, as well as other local events that I think represent the larger housing crisis as well, so that they are aware of what Geneva is dealing with uniquely, but also similar to the rest of the county, if not the country. I did have a question. If anyone knows, you can email me afterwards. Just how many residents, how many tenants are still there? Do we know that? And needing housing. So you can contact me offline.
I can find out.
Okay, great. Thank you, Councilman. Okay, so Ontario County Humane Society investigations, 24 complaints about pets in the city out of 134 last month countywide. We had the most. Also, an announcement, the Genesee Transportation Council is wanting to hear from riders, and I can send the link if someone would want to send that around. Public input for people who are using RTS for work, school, healthcare. And that survey will go until November 26th. The email for that is publicinput.com/ridersurvey2025. And if you want more information on that, I think I posted it on my Facebook page. It should be there. Don't like to bring this up, but this is something that's a potential resource. Is I'm planning to attend the active shooter civilian response training, which is on December 2nd, and I'll be happy to share that with members of council and anyone after that occurs. That's being provided by county HR department. And finally, as I said, the New York State Association of Counties Executive Director reached out to me. I've been in touch with Allison and Mr. DiMaria today regarding there's funding available for cost recovery for PFAS microplastics detected in either the drinking water or wastewater after June 2023. So that might be something to take advantage of. And finally, to the deputy, welcome. And I would like to offer to have coffee, a meet and greet with you and the director of the Youth Bureau once you get settled and before she retires at the end of the year. Any questions for me? Yes.
Yeah, Supervisor Kennedy, I'd like to, seeing as you brought up housing, invite you to the OEO presentation that's going to happen at the Bizzuto Center on October 22nd,
Okay.
6 p.m.
Great. And I
I'll
was
email
there
you.
this week at that one.
Oh, you were? That's right. You were there, weren't
That
you?
was very informative.
Okay, so yeah, the community's going to be there on the 22nd. I'm putting
Great.
out the word, so feel free to come again.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Kennedy. Oh,
Yes.
Council
When-
Levin?
Council
When do you
Levin.
think that the solid waste report will be made public?
At least by, or at the latest at the board meeting on October 23rd, and there'll be a consultant presentation at that time. If there's a draft available before then, after we supervisors look at it and respond to the draft, then I'll put that up on my social media. But right now, it looks like it would be that on the 23rd, so.
It's not likely to come up at committee before that meeting?
Oh, yes,
It
very
will.
likely, yes, yes,
It may be visible there.
yeah. So, yeah, so that would be, just to be clear, that would be the week after next, Wednesday, 12:30, Monday, a week from Monday, at 12:30. Mhm.
Slight title correction, that is our assistant city manager, not our deputy.
Excuse me. Using
No problem.
Using county language.
Thank you.
Great. I'm glad the microphone's working. I didn't have to sit there because that could be very confusing for all concerned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to consideration of meeting minutes, we have September 3rd and September 9th. I need a motion. Councilor Petropoulos, seconded by Councilor Grimaldi. Clerk, please call the roll on the consideration of meeting minutes.
Counselor Whitfield,
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos,
Aye.
Counselor Gilat,
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi,
Aye.
Counselor Lavin,
Aye.
Counselor Brennan,
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next is public comment. At first, I have Anthony Noon from the Police Budget Advisory Board requesting 5 minutes. Welcome.
Welcome. I was also starting to have nightmare flashbacks if I had to sit in that chair. So thank you for fixing the mic, Zach. I appreciate that. Good evening, counselors. I'm here tonight as the Police Budget Advisory Board Chair, along with fellow members of Morris Elliott Engel and Rick Hoyt, to speak to you about the proposed GPD portion of the city's budget. As you may recall, the PBAB passed a resolution in January 2025 to recommend that the city restore 2 police officer positions, which aligned with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services study, for a total of 34 staff and a mental health professional to the GPD. As you all begin dissecting the newly proposed 2026 budget, the police department's $4.36 million funding request does not add any of those recommended positions, which is disappointing to see. However, let's be clear, this is not a bloated budget. There is a cost of continuing to run essential services at the bare minimum. Pushing departments to do more with less may appear fiscally responsible in the short term, but it ultimately risks compromising public safety and the quality of service our community expects and deserves. As a board, looking at the proposed 2026 PD budget, we noticed it reflects a 5% decrease as directed. All department heads, as you guys know, because you gave the order to the city manager, were told to find reductions not because they were spending irresponsibly, but because of broader budget tightening across the city. As a result, our police department's already strained resources are being stretched even thinner. They are being asked to maintain essential services with no real resources to grow, improve, or adapt. If we take a look at the 2026 budget, already shows significant reductions in several crucial areas, such as overtime, dropping from $236,990 in 2024 to $175,000 in 2026, due to hoping to, or also as a result, in the change to 12-hour shifts. Equipment was reduced from $146,611 in 2024 to just $4,500 in 2026, which is almost 97% cut in equipment that is essential for our police. General maintenance, which supports the upkeep of essential equipment and facilities, has dropped from $24,844 to only $3,000. We all know it costs more than that on a yearly basis just to maintain a regular house. But yet we think it's okay, not we, let me take that back. You guys think it's okay to accept this as a budget amount? And then we have training, critical for officer readiness and public safety, and the best techniques of policing, like crisis response training and de-escalation, has gone from $40,441 to $27,500, and that number is far from sufficient. And obviously the chief has had to make these cuts and had to find places to cut when forced to meet that 5% decrease as directed. And then we have uniform costs, firearms, and physical exams also seeing cuts despite being basic necessities. These reductions are not luxuries being trimmed. They are backbone of day-to-day policing. What message does it really send when officers are forced to make do without updated equipment or the training they need to handle complex situations? One of the ways to improve policing, which I think we all are in agreement, we would all be in favor of, is to invest in the people who do the policing. So let's do the math really quick. Geneva's general fund typically hovers around 18 to 20 million. So a $50,000 cut, say, to the police budget represents just a quarter of that fund. For a homeowner with a $200,000 property assessment, that would save them maybe $4 to $6 a year. Yes, $4 to $6 a year, not $400 to $600 a year, just $4 to $6, which comes out to be about 30 to 50 cents a month. 30 to 50 cents a month. Definitely not going to buy you much at the grocery store on that savings. Even if you have doubled or half those amounts, it would still amount to pennies. For what amounts to less than the cost of a cup of coffee per year, the city would risk losing investigative capacity, weakening public safety even further, and further demoralizing an already strained police department. Budget decisions matter, and even small cuts can carry significant consequences for the services we rely on every day. We're asking officers to do more with less year after year, and then we're surprised when morale drops, and we all make a big deal over it. Turnover rises, we make a big deal over that, and then community trust erodes, and that becomes a big deal. But this is not sustainable. Officers are not robots. They are public servants, and they need the tools, training, and staffing to serve effectively. Speaking of effective public safety, we need to talk about something else this council has acknowledged the need for, as well as the council before, but failed to fund, and that's the importance of responding to better mental health crisis. Everyone agrees that officers shouldn't be the only ones handling people in crisis. However, there's been no action, no budget, no allocation, no progress. You can't say you support this initiative or you support police and follow it with a but and expect people to believe it, because they don't. The chief and the PBAB members have explored grants in this area. We've looked at partnerships. Unfortunately, nothing sustainable has materialized. While we wait, officers continue to be the front line for behavioral health emergencies. They are not trained to handle on their own. So a co-response model is something that we've looked extensively at, and it's a system where a trained clinician or a social worker rides with officers on mental health related calls. They co-respond in real time, de-escalate crisis, and connect individuals to services, and prevent unnecessary arrests or hospitalizations. So here's what this could look like in Geneva. A clinician either hired by the city or contracted through a partner agency would work alongside the GPD during key shifts. On calls involving suicidal individuals, domestic disputes tied to behavioral health, or reoccurring welfare checks, this co-responder provides expertise that officers simply can't offer alone. They follow up with families, connect residents to long-term resources, and help reduce repeat 911 calls. If this council is serious about innovation, about mental health, and about reducing unnecessary strain on policing resources, then this is your opportunity to act. And we encourage you to do so, particularly implementing the co-responder position in the 2026 budget so that the GPD can begin building the program with appropriate agency. If you believe in this model, then fund it. And as we all know, there's other things that Chief Evelyn could have asked for, such as the K-9 unit, the youth officer position becoming a position within itself, updated forensic and technology supplies, firing range upgrades. If you've never been down there as a resident, I'm sure if you reached out to the chief, he'd take you, and you'd be just as appalled that our officers train in such a facility as we were when we toured it last summer. Additional training programs, particularly on community policing, which we've heard over and over again is a necessity, de-escalation, and again, mental health preparedness requiring more investment, not less. And last but not least, and again, the list could go on, is staffing shortfalls. Today, the GPD is down 6 officers. Yes, that's right, 6, due to training, injuries, and other constraints, leaving fewer resources, longer response times, and limited capacity for proactive policing. Every community calls to have police respond to noise or speeding motorists or other quality of life issues can't be met. And I've heard many of you address helmets not being worn by people on scooters and what have you, and riding the scooters on the sidewalk. But obviously those things cannot fully be addressed due to staffing shortages, much less letting officers do walking or biking patrols, which are so crucial to working on community relations. So the PAB's position is simple. It's that this budget is the bare minimum. We're not here asking for excess. We are asking for a department that is functional, modern, and equipped to meet the demands of this city. To build a more efficient, responsive, and community-focused department, we must continue to grow, not shrink. That means investing in resources like mental health personnel, which is so long overdue, and I couldn't be more disappointed that our council couldn't have gotten that done the last time when I was on. Updated technology and adequate staffing. We don't just support this budget, but we believe it should actually go further. If the city council continues to cut year after year, the cost won't be measured in savings, but instead in slower response times. And these are not scare tactics. This is reality. And you can bury your head in the sand, or you can choose not to look at numbers, but this really is the reality. Slower response times, higher turnover, and reduced public trust. Geneva deserves better than the minimum. And it's time to invest in our department, and it's definitely in time to invest in the future, and that future is now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Pat Schiller.
Sometimes we assume people know what we know, but at last month's meeting, there was a young lady that stood up and said she thought that with all the churches in Geneva and with Hobart William Smith and Wegmans, that there should be more food available. We know that, but I've talked to some people that have lived here forever, and they don't know that there is 5 days a week, a hot meal directed by Catholic Charities, housed in the Methodist Church, directed, as I say, by Catholic Charities. Mr. Lavin certainly knows of all the he's done with all the Boys and Girls Club in helping people to have enough food. There are other places that food is available. We know that, but the gal that was here last week did not, and other people in Geneva don't. So I think it's important to spread the word.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is our city manager report.
All right. So broken down by goal areas, the first goal area for this council is ensuring fiscal and organizational stewardship of city resources. Under that, some highlights from the past month. We are in the process of filling 2 officer positions, police officer positions with transfers, which are currently in process. We are also hoping to post the community vitality coordinator. This is the second position under the assistant city manager restructure that'll be the direct supervisor to recreation and planning and economic development. We also have been awarded $85,000 in settlement funds regarding our class action lawsuit related to the PFAs. So a lot of work is being done there. And Castle Street reconstruction, that project, there is a community meeting tomorrow evening at City Hall from 5:30 to 6:30 to talk about that redesign and what that will mean for the city. It's been a while since we've done a complete street redesign, and so we're looking forward to having the funding and resources to do that and do all of the work underneath. Under promotion of economic development within the city, the Dunkin' Donuts construction is progressing. They are still on target for opening. They've had some setbacks, but they are going forward. You may have seen some work on our DRI streetscape this week. I know there was some work being done today to finalize all of that project. The BID LDC IDA in the city will be launching our quarterly economic development meetings. We're happy to have Sydney on board to help coordinate with those. And the OEO development team. So we have a preferred developer for that site that was formerly the OEO on Exchange Street. We'll have some community engagement meetings where community members can see the vision for bringing housing to that site. On October 11th at the farmers market in the community room. While you're at the farmers market, stop by, see some staff, and see those pictures. And then October 22nd at 6 p.m. at Bazzuto, we'll also have another community meeting on that. Under intergovernmental relations with city partners, we already have provided a lot of compost caddies and backyard compost kits. But in connection with the town of Geneva, the city has been working also with the county to receive additional composting caddies that we'll be providing for income qualified seniors. So that mailing will go out soon, and we're working also with Growing Cycle for home delivery for our home pickup for those seniors. The mayor and county supervisors met. We discussed a variety of things, and I'll let the mayor highlight that further. Under creating community dynamic communications with our community, our October community conversation with myself will be held on October 10th at 8:30 a.m. I'll be joined by Director Venuti, and that will be at Monaco's. That's an opportunity for residents to ask questions. We've had a monthly meeting. The department head that meets with me chooses the time and location. We have done first thing in the morning, end of the day, middle of the day, and places also from them. I also am now joining Finger Lakes Morning Radio. I think it's the last Wednesday of each month, the week prior to this, to talk about whatever topics. Most recently, we talked about the city budget. And if you go to our website, in partnership with CGI Digital, you will find 3 videos that highlight the city of Geneva as a vibrant place to live, work, and visit. And so it talks a little bit more as people look at us to see what they can do in Geneva. And then I think this is towards the end. I lost a piece of paper. Goal 5 is enhancing quality of life for city residents. And so under that, trick-or-treating will be October 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. I know that is always one of my key things I have to do is make sure we are clear on when that is. So that's when it will be. Property repairs and the demolition at Medias is moving forward. We have been working with the property owners. They have a demolition company under contract and are working towards that. You've probably seen our DPW department out in full force doing a variety of different things as we prepare, and soon we'll be doing, once again, fall yard and debris, leaf debris pickup. One final thing, the police chief and fire chief under council policy update, if they choose to move outside of the city, they ask for a waiver from the city manager, and I'll be granting that waiver to our police chief, who will be moving outside of the city bounds, but will be within 15 minutes of the city within the next 90 days or so. So he has requested that, and I am willing to grant that based on what council has done there. And I think that's all of my updates for today.
Thank you. Chief of Police is actually moving into his grandfather's house.
Correct.
Yep. Next is a ordinance. First reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 277 sanitary sewers and sump pumps by Superintendent Brayman. get close to the microphone, or whoever's going to do it, get close to the microphone. Listen, I would do the same thing if I had somebody to read mine.
I'll play.
You want me to do it? Oh, I got the tax cap one.
So I think the biggest piece is, council had started to discuss this last time, and we tabled it until Supervisor Brayman could be here to talk about some of the changes that we wanted on the sump pump ordinances.
I'll take it. This action has been recommended by the Stormwater Task Force that was created to investigate ways to limit storm impacting flooding events over the last 4 to 5 years. It is also necessary to help limit the amount of groundwater in the sanitary sewer systems, which will help reduce the operating costs of the city wastewater treatment plant, which is infiltration. Since the second reading on September 3rd, this ordinance has been updated to include a hardship or infeasibility review, number 4G. The city has been allocating funds in the engineering budget for years for the purpose of slip lining, mainlining sanitary sewer collection infrastructures in an attempt to limit the amount of infill and infiltration being treated at the wastewater plant. This ordinance will continue that effort in reducing storm water being treated, and in that process help saving money by being spent on treating groundwater. I need a motion. Councilor Grimaldi, a second. Councilor Petropoulos, discussion. Clerk, please call the roll on the second reading of, or the first reading of this ordinance.
Counselor Whitfield.
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos.
Aye.
Counselor Gilat.
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi.
Aye.
Counselor Peeler. Oh, sorry, he's not here. Counselor Lavin.
Aye.
Counselor Brennan.
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next is a local law overriding the property tax cap limit by Comptroller Blowers.
Thank you. As fate would have it, my computer had just restarted, but I do kind of know what the tax cap is. It's a state law. New York State passed a law several years ago that said a municipality had to stay within a certain range for the tax cap, or you would override the tax cap as a governing body. It's something that I recommend overriding each year. This particular year, we are under the levy by about 100,000, which is still a little too close for comfort as far as how the calculation is put together, for me anyway. So, as I mentioned, I recommend the override. But that is a council decision, and I believe it needs a super majority, if I'm not mistaken. So that
Okay.
is on the floor now.
I need a motion. Councilor Petropoulos, seconded by Councilor Grimaldi. Discussion.
It's important to do this
It is very important to do
because
this.
nobody knows what the state's gonna do when they try to figure it.
And there's penalties if you do override it and you don't pass this resolution or this local law.
Correct.
And it does need a supermajority, it says.
Yep.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Whitfield.
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos.
Aye.
Counselor Gilat.
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi.
Aye.
Counselor Lavin.
Aye.
Counselor Brennan.
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next is a local law amending the charter regarding the city manager resident requirements presented by me. The city charter currently states that the city manager need not be a resident. It doesn't currently state. The city manager needs to be a resident of the city at the time of, need not be a resident at the time of appointment, but shall maintain and remain so during his or her term of office. This local law amend the charter to be read. It is the city's council preference that the city manager be a resident of the city and may take residency into account in its appointment or reappointment of the city manager, but this preference may be waived by the city council. And I so move. I need a second. Council Brennan, discussion. This aligns with the fire chief and the police chief, and I think we will look forward in the future about doing something very similar to our city clerk.
There is a mileage requirement, right? She's
Distance.
distance, I mean.
The police chief and the fire chief, there is no requirement. The council decided not to do it. They put it at the discretion of the city manager of what is a reasonable distance.
I see.
Council Petropoulos.
I just read a couple of newsletters ago. The state controller, there was an article that this seems to be the trend, and a lot of municipalities are doing this, and it's been positive. So, it's not like we're the only ones doing this.
It's all about attracting and retaining the best talent. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Whitfield,
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos,
Aye.
Counselor Gilat,
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi,
Aye.
Counselor Lavin,
Aye.
Counselor Brennan,
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next is an ordinance, first reading amended chapter 350-7.10, fences, hedges, and walls. Superintendent Brayman, you taking this one? Okay.
Got it. Thank you. So this one has been considering working on this for a while. Over the past multiple years, we had a lot of variance requests for 6-foot fence, basically from the front of the house. Right now, currently, the ordinance is a 6-foot high fence from the back of the house back, so in the backyard. We have many variance requests to go from the front of the house. So ideally, the 6-foot fence would go from the front of the house all the way back, so basically incorporate the side yard. And this did go to the planning board. We talked about multiple meetings, and everybody, the planning board was good with this request. So this is what we're asking for.
I need a motion? Counselor, yeah. Counselor Gilat, seconded by Counselor, I'm losing my mind over here. Seconded by Counselor Lavin. Any discussion? Counselor Gilat.
I just got a question.
I call you Petropoulos.
Hedges and shrubs and that kind of thing falls into this as well. As part of this, I mean, I'm concerned about, I assume nothing's going to change. On like, for example, the corner of streets, like,
So none of that is going to change. So the current, ideally, the current at a corner, 30 inches, the hedges, none of that stuff is going to change. It's simply just the fence from the front of the house back. That's it. The rest of the ordinance will stay.
You want one?
I want one.
Go ahead, Counselor Grimaldi.
Because I've seen so many problems with these fences that come out to the front of the houses. I think that you got a bad problem here. Because if you get two neighbors that are having a problem, and one has a lot line that's a foot off his house, they run a 6-foot fence a foot off somebody's house. Now they can't even maintain the side of their house. And I know of numerous places in the city where that was, and that was some of the reasoning to put the back of the house as the lot line. My opinion. I hate to see it, and that's just my opinion.
Anybody else? Clerk, please call the roll on the ordinance.
Counselor Whitfield,
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos,
Aye.
Counselor Gilat,
aye.
Counselor Grimaldi,
Nay.
Counselor Lavin,
Aye.
Counselor Brennan,
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next is a ordinance, first reading, modifying chapter 350, designating St. Stephen's Church property as historic, on the state registry and the National Registry of Historic Places by Superintendent Bremen.
Yep, so this one is simply, obviously, they were, submitted for being located on the state and national register. So we just got to modify our zoning ordinance to include this, and it requires 2 readings.
Need a motion? Counselor Gilat, seconded by Counselor Lavin. Discussion.
Did the church say they wanted this? Because,
I
it's a
don't
giant
know who
problem.
initiated it, Pat. I just know that, from SHPO, we received this, and they were designated to the national as well. That came in probably 2 weeks ago for the national, so.
Yeah, I mean, because that church may not always exist as a church, and it could be a problem if it was put on the National Register as far as trying to do something else with those buildings.
Yeah, I'm not sure who initiated it, but it has been accepted by both.
Counselor Petropoulos.
How old is the church building?
Not sure.
Don't know, okay.
1920s.
Superintendent Bremen, what if we do not pass this ordinance? What happens? Or is that a legal question?
I mean, they have already been designated. I don't know.
I was gonna say, David, do you have any? I've
That's a
never.
good question. I don't have the answer for you sitting right here.
And the reason I ask is probably similar to what Counselor Grimaldi was headed, because I have talked to people at the church, and they are not in favor of being designated
Yeah,
here.
I
So
mean,
I'm going to make a motion at this point to table this.
Yes.
Look into
yeah.
it.
Seconded by Counselor Petropoulos. And clerk, please call the roll on tabling this ordinance.
Counselor Whitfield,
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos.
Aye.
Counselor Gilat,
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi,
Aye.
Counselor Lavin,
Aye.
Counselor Brennan,
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye.
Motion
And
tabled.
I know there's no discussion after tabling, but I'm going to ask that counselors reach out to the representatives of the church and try to get feedback there. I don't know if we can have an impact on this or not.
Other than my attendance at that school, what is its historic value?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was it?
Shot across the bow there.
I lobbed it at the net, actually.
We could designate you as an historic structure.
Okay, next, order in the court. Next is a resolution urging improved electric infrastructure to support housing and economic development in the city of Geneva and Ontario County, presented by your city manager.
Yes, this is a resolution similar to other resolutions that are happening across Ontario County. It has come to our attention as new projects come online for housing or for other economic development. The grid in our county cannot support those projects. And so when we talk about any of our new proposals for housing or any businesses coming to incubate here, there is not an energy supply to bring that online. This has come to light on the other side of the county as projects have been promised electricity. As they get closer to the turn-on date, there is no longer electricity there without large costs of infrastructure supported by the municipality or the project, and those projects aren't able to be brought online. So what this resolution does is it goes to all of the parties listed at the end of the resolution to urge a further review on this and a conversation with RG&E and NYSEG to look at what is our grid and what are our options, because one of the things that has come up time and time again here, as well as within the county, is the need for housing, the need for increased development, and at this point we are not confident that any of those things can happen because we do not have the energy to do that.
I need a motion. Councilor Petropoulos, seconded by Councilor Gilat. Any discussion? I'm sorry, I'm hung up over here.
Okay. Are
No.
we gonna then put a resolution out to support the Greenwich Power Station? Because that would solve the problem, and it solved the problem numerous times this summer. And I know that there's a large contingent of people in Geneva who are against that station. But
That's
yet
a
they
good
kept
question,
their-
yeah.
Their power going here, so if you're gonna sit down and say, we want to improve the structure, but yet we're gonna decrease the power that we get, where do we go with this?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's,
just being up and fair.
Yep, understandable. That's a fine line because of the whole Bitcoin operation, but I understand where you're coming
Yeah,
from.
I mean, but they shut their Bitcoin down this summer to put the power on the grid so that we wouldn't brown out. I mean, you know,
So maybe the resolution would be something of supporting the grid, but not supporting the Bitcoin mining operation.
the only reason the Bitcoin's there is because they try to shoot the power plant.
Well, what's the genesis of this resolution? Where did this come from?
This came from discussions of having the need for energy, and that it's a support of the county resolution and the city of Canandaigua resolution from this body, that more unified voices are needed in order to make changes so that we can continue with the projects that we've started.
That's what I thought, okay. The more voices, more support gives the county more leverage, if you will, to do
Yes,
what
and
they
it's,
can do.
and I know that there's other counties joining on as well to kind of push this. It's not just an Ontario County problem, it's
No.
across New York State. And we have met with our representatives at the federal level as well on this.
There's great discussions going on about nuclear now, advanced
Yeah.
nuclear.
Small nuclear.
Clerk, please call the roll. We gotta follow what Europe does.
Counselor Whitfield,
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos.
Aye.
Counselor Gilat,
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi,
Nay.
Counselor Lavin,
Aye.
Counselor Brennan,
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next, I need to read, the Ethics Board has met, and they have 2 findings and 1 observance. And it's my responsibility to read that at the next public meeting, which is tonight. The first one is a resolution of a complaint lodged with the City of Geneva Board of Ethics on 4/17/25, and is hereby resolved. Allegations: a citizen filed a complaint against Councilmember Ahmad Whitfield for allegedly violating tenets 1, 3, 4, 5, 11, and 16 of the City of Geneva Code of Ethics when during the 4/2/25 City Council meeting, City Council Member Whitfield allegedly engaged in conduct which violated those tenets. Number one is act of public interest. Number 3 is conduct of public officials. Number 4 is respect for process. Number 5 is conduct of public meetings. Number 11 is use of public resources. And tenet 16 is positive workplace environment. Findings: upon review of the 4/2/25 City Council meeting video recording, Board of Ethics makes the following findings. The resolution of the Board of Ethics decided that tenet 5 of the City of Geneva Code of Ethics was violated by City Council Member Whitfield by unanimous vote. That tenet is conduct of public meetings. Public officials shall prepare themselves for public issues, listen courteously and attentively to all public discussions before the body, and focus on business at hand. They shall refrain from interrupting speakers, making personal comments not germane to the business of the body, or otherwise interfering with orderly conducts of meetings. And just as a note, the person that filed that complaint is filing for a review of that because they believe that the findings of the Ethics Committee should have been more expansive. The next one I have is a resolution from the City Board of Ethics. At the heart of the complaint received on Friday, August 9th, involves one of 9 of the board members of the Planning Board, Mr. David D'Amico. According to the minutes of the November 2023 Planning Board meeting, D'Amico both seconded, discussed, and voted for approving a site plan of 399 William Street, Geneva YMCA. Additions and improvements. The heart of the complaint claims D'Amico, as a board member, should have recused himself from any discussion, motion, or vote due to commercial interest in the project. D'Amico is a local plumbing and heating contractor operating in the City of Geneva, contracted by Massa. Signs advertising his contractor service has also been placed and made visible on the streets adjacent to the YMCA site. We find the board member D'Amico in violation of 3 following tenets of the City of Geneva Code, number 1, 3, and 8, most glaringly the violation involving conflict of interest. And this is not a finding, it's just a observance. During a special meeting during Lakeview Health Services, It was seen a group of city council members laughing and doing their own thing during the presentation. And also, City Council of Ward 5 laughing, smirking, chuckling at the presenter while they was talking. Where is the professionalism? If they represent taxpayers, they need to show professionalism at all times. And during the March 5th City Council meeting, Councilmember Chris Lavin slouching in his chair during the meeting. Okay.
Slouched in his chair?
I'm just reading what was presented to me, which is my order. Professionalism, please. Okay, so we added a public hearing resolution to the agenda, so that's next on there. The resolution establishing a public hearing for the sale of 595 South Exchange Street, former OEO site, to the preferred developer, presented by our city manager.
And I'm passing them out right now. We contracted with our preferred developer back in February. A team has been meeting with them, and at this point, we'll be setting the public hearing to sell that parcel to the preferred developer based upon the plan they've developed to have housing on that site. And as I mentioned, there are upcoming community meetings to review that proposal.
I need a motion. Councilor Gilar, I got you right that time. Seconded by Councilor Petropoulos. Any discussion on setting the public hearing? Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Whitfield,
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos,
Aye.
Counselor Gilat,
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi,
Yeah, aye.
Counselor Lavin,
Aye.
Counselor Brennan,
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next, do we have any appointments to boards and commissions?
No, we did not.
Okay, great. Moving on. Mayor and council reports. I'll start on my left with Councilor Whitfield and work our way around.
I have none.
Okay, Councilor Petropoulos.
I have a few from Ward 5. We just recently had our town hall with Councilors Gilat and Grimaldi. Special guests were Assistant City Manager Taylor Youngs. And, of course, Amy Hendricks popped in, too, so it was a good meeting. The Unity Center at the old Clark Vision, I guess. That's coming. I don't want to jinx anything, but I did ask this weekend. They're very close to closing. When that happens, that'll give a community space. We can use that for town halls, perhaps. So that's coming along. Let's see. The OEO public meeting, once again, will be October 22nd, Wednesday at 6 p.m. at the Bizzuto Center. I'll be announcing that online as well as here. I encourage the public to come to this meetings because they're going to give a presentation of what they're all about. The last presentation was very informative. And let's see, Drumstock, that was a success. Attendance was doubled from last year. The weather wasn't much better than last year, but it got better towards the end. So that's another event I think is on the map. Let's see, Coffee with Amy. What do you call it? Community conversation. Coffee with Amy. That's going to be at Monaco's on October 10th, which I believe is a Friday.
I want to know where you're going to park.
You must know when
Who? I go there all the time. Oh, yeah, I get it. So, yes, that's going to be October 10th, Friday, at 8:30 a.m. The guest will be our Department of Public Works Director, Joe Venuti. The bid cleanup, they're having another cleanup, correct me if I'm wrong, October 11th. First shift is 9 to 12, next 1 to 4. That's it. So check the bid website for that. I'm possibly going to do another Veterans Day Lakefront ceremony. I'll get the word out and the invites out. Last year, we dedicated a bench that the local Masonic Lodge had built, the Veterans Talking Bench. The LDC helped us out with that. DPW, Old Buildings and Grounds specifically, helped us out with that. Assemblyman Gallahan was in attendance. Supervisor Kennedy was there. So I'm going to invite everybody. You'll hear from me on that soon. And finally, we got a lot of new businesses opening in Ward 5, a lot of great restaurants. I went to one today. I'm going to give him a shout out. Fully Loaded. I am not kidding. All right. Friend of mine told me, go down there, introduce yourself. I'm buying you something. He went for seconds. So, at any rate, if you got a minute, you're downtown, come on in, try their stuff out. I'm telling you, you won't be sorry. And there are other great businesses opening. CJ Sandwich Emporium. We already had, there's a wood-fired pizza place which might be opening soon. That'll be good. So I'll keep you posted with all that. But otherwise, that's really about it. I'm sure there's tons of stuff I'm missing, but you know where to find me.
Councilor Gillette.
Thank you. First, I'd like to just emphasize that the Police Budget Review Board, they really dig their heels in and doing a great job. They're attentive. They do their research, not just going by what Chief says or they're physically out there looking. They're very in tune to mental health for our officers as well as to respond to calls. They're trying to find a way to do it as economically as possible, if that's even possible. But just a shout out to that whole group because they're working hard at it and they're really engaged, which was good to see. As far as bid goes, bid hosted a community volunteer weeding event last Saturday at the lakefront. They had some great help, and the garden beds are looking better than ever. Their next volunteer event is scheduled for Saturday, October 11th, excuse me, from 9 to 4 p.m. You can sign up at the Geneva Bid website under volunteer. Hobart Williams Smith has partnered with the bid to provide hundreds of welcome bags to visitors during Family and Alumni Homecoming Weekend, happening October 3 through 5. Downtown businesses are marketed directly to visitors for this event, marking one of the highest visitation dates of the year. And also, Geneva Beer Week is back, October 25th through November 2nd, brought to you by the Geneva Bid and the Seneca Lake Order of Brewers. It will feature a Beer Week passport, beer crawl, tastings, educational events, and a fall festival at 41 Lakefront on November 1st. The full calendar of events will be available soon. It's also time again. Hanging baskets will come down, and the other planners are soon to follow. We are looking forward to doing some autumn plannings in the weeks to come. And thank you very much for your presentation tonight. It was awesome. Thank you, and welcome. That's all I got.
Councilor Grimaldi.
I was unable to attend the Housing Authority meeting this month, so I have nothing from them. I have gotten a few calls and people talking to me about the InVet site out on Rockland Road, though we need to maybe start taking a look at what's going on out there and getting that cleaned back up. It's, one of our prime areas, and it looks pretty crappy when you drive by. So that's basically what I have this month.
Thank you. Councilor Lavin.
My ongoing weekly Sunday morning walk where I pick up all the garbage and cans that are left by the people walking back to the campus was down to only 20 items this week, which was a 75% reduction from the week before, claiming an almost amazing reduction of that problem in 1 week of public shaming. But seriously, the kids responded to some of the fraternities they stopped by, and they picked up after they drank the night before. And I'll continue that on Sundays, and we'll report back as what I pull out of the bushes of South Main Street. But much more sophisticated variety of beers this week than the first. So I think they were reacting to the criticism of their Bud Light fixation the week before. But on a more serious note, through the manager to the city police chief, I'd like to ask for at some point to be educated about exactly what the obligations of the garbage trucks coming through this city are for cleanliness and their odor. And I think there are things that were agreed upon when we started this trip, but the trucks are a pain. There's too many of them for the kind of road that is, and now that we've resurfaced it, it's even more dangerous than because of the tendency to speed on a better road. I do think our last attempt at gauging the true speeds were not scientifically valid, because you put a sign up there saying with a flashing light saying that you're being warned, and then gauge the speed. I think you get a low. Yeah. You don't get it accurate, and there are ways that they put things across the road and come up with a true speed. But the other thing is, I think we have the right, and I'm guessing at this, I'm not as far along as I am in my sewer education, but we have the right to stop almost any truck coming into the city to look at their book and look at their maintenance logs, that's reason enough alone. And I think that if we just started doing that more along Route 14 coming into the city, word would get around that this is a less likely place to, because they do avoid, they drive too much sometimes, and their trucks, I think there's a cleanliness and an odor issue with the trucks. I'm not sure on that either, but I think more we can do to diminish that as a route of choice for the trucks. We just spent probably $1 million of public money fixing that bridge, and I'm sure that the only reason that needed to be fixed is the constant truck capacity going right through a college that has parking on both sides of the street. And I've said before, and I said, at some point, we're going to be calling the parents of some kid from Connecticut and telling them they got hit. And we knew in advance that this was not a safe situation there along near the colleges as well. But I'd just love to learn what our police are able to do, what training we might need to do by them to increase the safety of speed and along the road there as well.
Councilor Brennan.
Speaking of trucks, I'm reminded that Mr. Martino, a former counselor, wrote a letter to the editor regarding Jake brakes.
Yeah.
And what to do about it. And I think, Amy, last year at some point, you gave us a rundown of what the regulations, et cetera, were. So at some point, I'd like to review that again, not only for Mr. Martino's sake, but for all of our sakes again, because again, I know that he suggested there were some things that this council might look at for as to what we could do. So I'd like to honor his request. On other reports, ironically, even though I asked to be the liaison to Historic Geneva, I don't go to their meetings very much. So I had to resign. So we're going to have to appoint a new liaison, and you want to know why I had to resign? Because their meetings are often in conflict with our meetings at some level or another. So I don't have a report for Historic Geneva. I don't have a report for Historic Districts Commission because we have not met. But I do have a small report from the Shade Tree Commission. If you don't mind, I want to read a letter that Tom Burrow wrote on behalf of the Shade Tree Committee to Drew Rojek, who's the grounds manager for Hobart and William Smith. Drew Rojek and I met last year when it was time to organize some tree giveaways. So Hobart and William Smith took 16 trees last year, and this year they're taking 18 trees. And primarily, they're being planted exactly on South Main Street. So you'll see, if you're to drive down there, you'll see stakes in the ground with small orange tags on them. They've identified exactly where the trees are going to go and exactly what kind of trees they're going to be. So Tom wrote a nice letter to Drew. He said, I noticed the blaze of red flags in the ground on South Main Street when I returned to town. This is absolutely fantastic. It is critically important that our South Main Street gateway to Geneva be tree-lined and well-maintained. HWS is the city's key partner in all of this, and your grounds operation continues to be top shelf in attending to this mission. The trees the city is planting is funded in part through the fully volunteer efforts of the Shade Tree Committee. Firewood sales have generated nearly $20,000 in funding since 2021 for trees for our city. The more firewood we sell, the more trees we purchase, grow, and donate to residents for planting on their property in the city's right-of-way. We encourage you to spread the word to those who heat with wood, need camp wood, or have a burn pit to call it for firewood. The firewood phone number is 315-789-2537. We are once again grateful beyond words for the HWS partnership with our mission. Thank you, Drew. And it's true, you mentioned the Lakes Edge project, the so-called American Legion project. It is unsightly, and there's no question about it. The good news is it improves very quickly after you pass through Cemetery Hollow.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Your Honor, I missed one thing.
Sure, go
I
ahead.
wanted to say, with no disrespect to the Ethics Committee, I'll plead guilty to slouching for health and back reasons in recent months, suffering some particular ribs and stuff, but they're great. I couldn't disagree more with their criticisms of our compatriot down at the other end here, whose contribution to this dais and his voice for the people who are underrepresented in this city has been one of the freshest things of this council. The night that they were criticizing him on, I thought he showed great restraint from the attacks coming from a portion of the community that should have been ashamed of what it was saying about him. So I stand by Ahmad for his restraint for what he's being criticized for what that's worth.
No, thank you, Counselor. I think the resolve was most important after the meeting because there was some resolution that took place outside of the meeting,
Yeah.
which wasn't on YouTube. So I want to start by thanking the city manager and the comptroller and all the staff and this council for all the efforts that are being put in during the budget season. It's no easy task. There's a lot of tough decisions that have to be made. You know, we don't have an endless revenue stream, and we have increasing expenses. We're looking forward to moving through October and finalizing this budget. We'll be meeting every Tuesday as much as we need to in order to pass it so that we get it passed before the end of the month. And following up on Supervisor Kennedy, the county city meeting we have quarterly. Thank you very much for your attendance. And Supervisor Pruitt also attended with the city manager, the assistant city manager, our Ontario County sent Krista Bolt and his deputy Allison? Did I get that right? Alyssa. Thank you. And you talk about the Office of Cannabis Management, and if anybody's followed anything in the last 3 or 4 years, it's a disaster. And this just adds insult to injury because there are a lot of tax collections going on. The county gets 4%, the city gets 3% of sales that happen in the city of Geneva. They're dying to distribute that reserve money that they keep holding on to, but there really isn't a good formula coming from the OCM. And until they get that, it's tough for them to release the funds. Fortunately, the city manager and the comptroller have not budgeted that in our budget. So we will have somewhat of a revenue stream that will come in. We're not even sure what that is. And we're looking forward to that. One thing I did learn in that meeting was you have shops out there that have cannabis licenses, and then you have shops out there that have hemp licenses. And it's interesting because they can't, there seems to be some hemp licenses that could be skating past the laws and selling cannabis, but we can't hold them accountable based on loopholes in the current laws. So the county is looking at other options on how to try to go after those loss of sales, we'll say, in those hemp selling businesses that have licenses. So we're looking for that. We also talked about an important issue that Victor's going through right now, and it's the Fisher Fire District that is dissolved. It is no longer functional. And it left Victor in a bad situation where they had to reach out to, I think it was 3 or 4 different fire districts for support. They have an 18-month interim plan to try to bridge that gap. And you can just imagine, fire safety, and we're not sure exactly how that's going to happen, but what I asked the county was to provide us with lessons learned. Because, we talked about combined services, we talked about how you can achieve that effectively. This was a very ineffective way of implementing fire protection, and that fire protection dissolving in front of them and leaving them standing in an unsafe situation, in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to those lessons learned as we move forward. I just reached over to the city manager, said, when's that pumpkin roll? She reached out to her staff and immediately got a response. October 18th from 12 to 3 on Brook Street, we will have the pumpkin roll. Bring everybody out, bring your kids out. It's an awesome event. There's a lot of good stuff that goes on that day. And although we will meet between now and then, this is our last public meeting before the November 4th election. So I will request every possible voting person in the city of Geneva get out and vote. It's important. Thank you very much. Need a motion to adjourn. Councilor Grimaldi, seconded by Councilor Petropoulos. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.